So you might hear my baby is stiff. You might hear my baby I can't bend the legs. Those kind of moves. Startles a lot. Colicky. You'll get the reflux, usually a higher chance of reflux, and floppy, non-responsive. Usually lots of times you'll see a respiratory distress, but if your child is starting to have stress just in the basic milestones, this is one of the areas you want to look at. What is the difference between high tone and low tone? Okay. What is meant to happen is when your baby goes through a natural delivery, right? This is the first time that they get experience of muscle functions, and they get it from you're the mother, from that delivery process. So during the times of contraction in particular, right, when the baby is starting to get into position, the mother has contractions or active muscles, or what would be considered high tone muscles, and at the same time has passive muscles, so the baby can drop down and get into position, right? So that's the first time that a baby gets that transfer of muscles, not muscle memories, but the use and functions of muscles from the active muscles of the contraction, but the passive muscles to go into position. This is one of the complications that happens with C-sections, especially when C-sections have to be elective, so the contractions don't even happen to the child's system. Right? The contractions are there for a reason. There's no opposition of force in the womb. If you want to get into all the details, I'm telling you, that's in my book. You Can't Get to Mars Without Me. In general, when the baby, and this is not always the case, but in general, typically when a child has suffered some form of birth trauma, NICU, intubation, cord wrapped around the neck, PVL3, all of those kind of things that can happen as a birth trauma, the response of the body is usually high tone or active muscle phase. The baby is put into what I hate to say, spasticity, right? The baby did not learn how to lie down or come into this movement, and so all their muscles are in high tone. So you might hear my baby is stiff. You might hear my baby I can't bend the legs. Those kind of moves. Startles a lot. Colicky. You'll get the reflux, usually a higher chance of reflux and so forth, because the ribs aren't expanding. Like, if I burp, my ribs should expand. But when the rib cage doesn't expand, thump, it's like a volcano, and you get the nasal reflux, that reflux and so forth going on. In a low-tone situation, floppy, non-responsive, usually lots of times you'll see a respiratory distress, but in a paradoxal lung, where the lungs almost like, move in and out, but they can't breathe and expand all the way to your diaphragms. Usually more sign of rare genetics, right? When you're getting into muscular dystrophies, SMAs, things like that, you'll start to see more of a low tone. That's not always the case, but it's about 90% of the children that are a low tone response, right? And they'll be here, and this is where I get concerned when the arms are out, and it's like, the head almost falls from side to side if it can go, versus the high tone or that. Anyone that tells you when a baby is still in weight transfer mode, right, which is really up until they're walking, that the baby needs to get stronger, right? Or needs to relax, or needs to disengage or engage, or I was told, he's just being lazy. There are no lazy babies. There's no babies that go, yeah, there's a ball over there. Nah, I'm not interested. They respond to stimuli to do that. They do it with rotational movements through weight transfer. Right? Babies are not born with six-pack abs for a reason. They look like little Buddhas. They have their big bellies. So what it is your muscles do not create movement. They never will. I can contract this muscle all day long. I can't feed myself, right? Our muscles respond to movement. So as I'm moving here and here, I have muscles that are engaging. So, I do certain things, and muscles that are being passive. So when I'm, say, here and pointing to you, I have active muscles in this hand. My left hand's not engaged to the same degree, but I might counter through my pelvis as I lift my hand. So we're meant to have active and passive muscles, or high and low tone. They respond to movement, right? Again, muscles don't create movements, they respond to it. That is a difference between active and passive muscles. It's quite simple to look at, right, and work with your child. But if your child is starting to have stress just in the basic milestones, this is one of the areas you want to look at. Please don't consider stretching. Please don't consider strength. And so that's what you're looking for. You want to be able to have transitional movements with active and passive muscles and not be in a stuck position of a high tone or low tone situation. But that's the difference between each other.